had a website, but it was almost like a vanity project back then. Now it is like an entrance fee to have a business.
Good. Hey, I wanted to let you know that the Google guarantee, the Google ads, man, I'm getting 12 to 16 calls a week.
My goal is at least do 10 to 15 more years, grow it up, sell it for 40, 50 million, maybe more.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Titan Talks. My name is Jonathan Stern. I'm an engineer at Topline Pro, but once a week, I have the honor of sitting down with successful home service entrepreneurs to discuss their journeys to success. Today is September 1st, 2023, and my guest is Cale Schindler, owner of Fayette Property Solutions and one of Georgia's most highly regarded landscaping contractors. Cale operates in Fayetteville, Georgia, just south of Atlanta, and has run the business with his dad since they got started in 2018. The company offers residential and commercial services, but I should note, many of its projects are larger scale, multi-$1,000 undertakings, like brush removal, gravel driveway maintenance, detention pond maintenance, and more. Cale, we've been wanting to get you on for 6-7 months and are so excited to finally get you. Thanks so much, and welcome to Titan Talks.
Definitely, I'm glad to be here, and it's an honor to be invited onto the show for sure.
To get started, would love to hear how you got started in landscape contracting. Give us an origin story.
Wow, so I could go way back to whenever I was about 10 years old and was just kind of walking around the neighborhood looking to make a few dollars. Really, from there, it started out whenever I was about 17 or so and got my first ever pickup truck. And my next door neighbor would ask for a hand here and there, and then they would refer me to their friends. And slowly but surely, I was just working out of this small pickup truck. And 2 or 3 years later down the road, after I was kind of doing my own thing, my father was getting ready to more or less retire from his career. And so, he has a love of working outside himself. And so we both just decided, hey, why don't we, put a little bit of money into a new company that we actually put together between us and try to make something happen. And that was back in May of 2018. I always tell people that we didn't have one customer whenever we first started out. We just kind of, spent about $45,000 on equipment and trailer and everything, and just kind of sent it, as some people like to say. So that's kind of how everything started. It just kind of started by me having a little bit of a foot in the door, and then my father kind of wanting to change what he was doing after his career was ending, and here we are now.
What was he doing previously, Cale?
So he was in the industrial coatings segment. So he would sell to large companies like Kellogg's, Honeywell, Frito-Lay, selling, in essence, like Teflon coatings like you see on pots and pans, but on a much more commercial level, so to speak.
Got it. So let's go back then to May 18, 2018. 0 customers, you said, when you started out.
Yep.
$40,000 in equipment. Tell us, how'd you get your first customer?
Honestly, it's kind of funny. My father's friend, he had about a 2-acre property, and we got our machine and our trailer. We got our trailer the day before the machine arrived, and the dealer brought our machine and everything down with it. And we didn't really have our own piece of property to even try this machine out on. And so we brought it to my father's friend's house. He let us try it out on his property. And then from there, we gained him as a customer, which would kind of, I guess you could say, was number one.
Yep.
And then from there, It, everything up until I started with Top Line, more or less, has been word of mouth. Um, Occasionally, I would, jump in and put my name in on a Facebook post here and there, but really from day one, it's mostly been just word of mouth, um, referrals from friends or customers, and I mean it's grown now to where we've basically got more than we can keep up with most days. It seems like.
The decision to put $40,000 into the business without first having any customers, were you confident that that was the right decision? Did you have mixed? I mean, some start out, they have a few customers and then they really make the investment in equipment.
Right.
Tell me about your thought process putting $45,000
And
into
and
equipment.
and that was purely a faith-based decision there. There there was really no evidence that we had or any support for the decision that we made. It was surely just a wing or a hope in the end. But we both just knew that we both like to work. We know that we have great customer service skills. We can talk to people. We interact with people all the time, so it's not like we're ignorant to conversation skills or selling things or whatever the case may be. And so it was mostly just having that confidence and that faith, and we can do whatever we set our mind to. um and for the first year or two, it was a lot of very sleepless nights and a lot of struggle for sure. um just going from literally barely making bill to bill as month by month goes by. It was very, very challenging, but it just really, after year two came to an end, that was really when things took off and went to the next level for us, really.
Why did you decide to keep going? Let's 16 months in at the trough of
Right.
the
So,
worst of times. What kept you going?
right. Um, you know, at the end of the day, it was just the feeling of knowing that what we were doing was something that, you know, physically somebody could take away from us, but you know, s- nobody could take away, knowing that, we persevered through those extremely challenging times, or, on a lot of projects that we do, my father and I are essentially the only people that really ever see the project from beginning to end,
Yep.
whether it be because the customer doesn't ever look at it, for example, or it's in a remote location that nobody really has access to. Um, I think it was just kind of that sense of pride of knowing, like, hey, we're doing something that not everybody just wants to go out and do, or even if they did, it wouldn't be as simple as just saying, hey, let's just go do that. It would require a lot more uh, fortitude and uh, just some of those intangible things that not everybody tends to have on certain levels.
You noted year two as roughly the turning point or the inflection point. What
Right.
happened then that really caused the business to start to take off?
So right around year two is whenever we started to pick up more connections with municipalities near us, and subsequently that was also right around the same time that uh, COVID-19 kind of came into play. And contrary to what a lot of people thought at the time, people were spending a lot of money on their landscapes right around the time COVID started. And I mean, the graph, was definitely trending upwards
Okay.
before COVID, but between landing a few municipalities and then just all of the calls from people coming that, hey, I'm stuck at home and this looks like crap and I really don't want to see it anymore. Or, it'd be great if, you could do this, but I'm too tired to do this or whatever. The graph just went from kind of 25 to 35-degree angle to like, whoa, we're getting a lot of phone calls now. um and so that's kind of what started it. And then just like I mentioned earlier, our customer service is one thing that we definitely pride ourselves on. So I think between having the pride in our work along with representing ourselves well and being there for the customers, I think that has really helped to keep that trend going.
Sure.
Whereas, a lot of people, I do stump grinding as well. And in the stump grinding industry, right around that COVID time, a lot of people got into stump grinding and bought 80, $90,000 machines. And now that all of that is kind of starting to taper back down, and not so many people are calling saying, hey, I need this done because of the recession or whatever the case may be. A lot of these guys that started only 2 or 3 years ago are selling their machines and they're getting out because that bubble is kind of popped, so to speak. So where a lot of guys are kind of, they caught on to that trend as well, they're kind of coming back down, and we're kind of, still ramping up, which has been awesome.
How is being in business with your dad? Did you consider other business partners? What is that like?
Wow. That's a very, very, very good question. That has by far and away been the absolute hardest thing.
Really?
Yes. And my father and I, we have always had a great relationship. Um, Always. And I just turned 30 in August. He just turned 63 on the 27th of August himself. So he's got double the years on me. And sometimes, because I'm, still a growing adult man, and, he's an adult man that's, kind of been there, done that. We do tend to butt heads on certain things. But it's been extremely challenging. There's been a lot of times that I got more upset with him than I should have, and vice versa. And because we do have that age gap and the type of work that we do, sometimes it's hard for me to be mindful of, hey, he's not 30 years old anymore like I am, so I can't look at him and be like, hey, let's pick up the pace or anything like that. It's in the 100-degree heat with 80+% humidity. So it's been awesome. We've both learned a lot about each other, especially over the past 2 years or so. Trying to get to the next levels of the business and our own personal growth. It's been wild.
I was gonna say, I imagine there have been many beautiful moments as well as hard
Oh,
as
yes.
it's been. Maybe tell us about the most magical moment y'all have had.
Yeah. So one that was somewhat recent, actually. So let me just give you a tiny little bit of backstory first. So for the past 4 or so years, we've only had one major piece of equipment, and I generally would let my father run that, just to kind of save him from doing too much labor. Somewhat recently, we've acquired a second piece of machinery. They're both the same, but so now I can run a piece of equipment as well. And so I can't remember exactly. I think it was April. we landed our biggest contract to date, which was mowing a 50 acre. Well, the whole property is 100 acres, but only 50 of it needed mowing right now. But it's a landfill, and these landfills are, you may or may not have seen them, but they're built up pretty steep. Obviously, so that you can keep piling more and more garbage on. And so, to give you perspective, it's some of these areas are about 45-degree angles, which generally speaking,
If that were a
that's
steep slope, I would take the carrier, the lift back.
right.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's very
So for example, we came into that project and we had never done anything of that scale before. We've been on some steep slopes, and we've cut acreage, but not 50 acres on really steep slopes. And for a big, I would say international company. And that first day, we get out there, and it was kind of like, I don't know if we're going to be able to do this. Because we're kind of already starting to slide down the hills, and I'm very new to operating these machines on a slope, and so I'm up here on, and honest, I literally thought the first 2 days that I was potentially going to die on these slopes because they were so steep that I thought, I was just going to roll my machine down the slope and it was just going to be over. But needless to say, after four pretty grueling days of us working together, and both of us having a ton of doubt and uncertainty in ourselves, the equipment, the pricing, almost every aspect of it, we were questioning ourselves, even though, we were on paper as prepared for this job as we've ever been before. And to come out on the other end of that with, with all of our limbs intact, and all of our equipment still working, and us completing the job, even though we were so uncertain in the beginning if we would be able to, that was probably one of the better triumphs or glory moments that you could say we both have had together.
wonderful. Let's turn to business today. Would love to hear how it's going. In general, is it just you and your dad? Do you have any employees?
Yep. So right now it is just he and I. We're just a two-man crew.
Okay.
However, we've been told, and we both, humbly try to boost ourselves by saying that, we've been able to tackle, just the two of us, what 6-man and 8-man crews do together. So
Yep.
I can't say that we're that efficient in all aspects of our business. However, in some of those key services that you listed at the beginning of the show, like detention pond maintenance specifically.
Sounds like a 10-person job typically.
Yeah, it's a large job for most companies that don't have the special type of equipment that we have. So just us having that major boost from the equipment standpoint really sets us above almost all of our competitors within our area in that segment, just because our efficiency alone, along with the high quality that we're able to offer, is, I hate to sound boastful, but it's second to none in most applications.
How many jobs do you have on the schedule? Are you jam packed for 3 months, 6 months, or?
Right now it's pretty much about a 2-month backlog.
Okay.
I've got a couple of big quotes I just sent out over this week itself. So theoretically, if 4 or 5 of these quotes that I've just sent out this week alone were to be answered, that would easily book me out for an additional month. So I'm staying quite busy. I told your partner Nick the other day, a lot of our jobs are between 1 to 3 days, just depending on the size. But any given week, we're doing 2 to 4 jobs that range from, I mean, they could be anywhere from $1,500 up to $5,500. Um, the large contract I just mentioned to you recently was well into 5 digits. Um, in the teens, I should say. It wasn't huge that way, but
Sure.
we're definitely growing in the way that uh, I would like to see us grow, because a lot of our services have been smaller ticket items in the past, where it might be $150 or 250, 800, some, I mean, still somewhat respectable. But whenever you're looking to really boost the profits, it obviously helps getting into the larger dollar jobs.
Earlier on, the word of mouth and referrals were big drivers of new jobs. How are you getting most of your jobs today?
I would honestly say it's split now, about 50-50. Still word of mouth and referrals.
Yep.
And then the rest has really come ever since I signed up with Top Line Pro.
Okay.
The website alone, I was doing the website for about a year or so, and then that was definitely helping out tremendously. And then I can't remember if it was about 6 months or so ago, maybe a little bit more, I signed up for the I can't remember the exact package, but it's kind of like the next step up from just the basic internet package that y'all offer, and that basically took it to where they would generate Facebook posts and Google posts, and take care of a few other things that I was beginning to fall behind in due to the workload. And that has definitely been the next step up again from just the website alone, because now I'll find that, of the other 50% that come in, about it's hard to say, but probably 20. It's hard to say. I would say half of the people that come in from social media or the internet are from the website, and the other half are from Google, which Topline has taken care of both for me at this point. So it seems like anything that Topline touches for me has turned into something that helps generate leads and calls coming in.
Well, we're thrilled to hear that. Hear it all the time that the website is really the first step in the right direction. But as soon as you can set up a professional Google business profile, have some good looking photos, 5-star reviews, link to the website, link to your appointment page or contact me page,
Right.
takes business to the next level. So really glad that all of that's a
Absolutely.
big driver for you.
Absolutely.
I meant to ask earlier at the end of your story about going up the hill with your dad. You mentioned that you had some doubt about pricing. I
Hmm.
was just thinking about these big ticket jobs, multiple thousands of dollars. How do you come to a price on something like that? Is it a negotiation between you and the customer? Is it a fixed price that you come up with? Would be curious, like how do you come up with the number
Right.
in this place, and then what's the process to land on a final number?
Right. So to answer that question, there's a lot of different ways that people in the industry like to do it. Um, a lot of people, whenever they're first starting out, they think, I want to charge the customer on a per hour basis. Um, and whenever you're first starting out, that can work out okay for you.
Hmm.
However, once you get to a place like we are now, where you have, I don't want to say we have a ton of overhead, but we have more overhead than somebody that just has a pickup truck and a small trailer and a small lawnmower on it. So,
Oh yeah.
with that being said, if I came up to a customer and told them what I needed to make per hour, I probably wouldn't get very many jobs from them. So I've gone from and we've spent time with Excel spreadsheets, figuring out our costs, um, how we want to break down different project costs. But at the end of the day, um, 8 or 9 out of 10 times, it just boils down to what we need to generate per hour, um, along with profit added in on top. And then at this point, I don't want to say we're so experienced, but we're experienced enough to where we can look at 90% of jobs and get a rough idea as to how long that they'll take us. Now, with that being said, there are some jobs where, it might only be a 2-hour job, but it's more than likely going to take half of that day. By the time it's all said and done, I'll end up usually rounding up, or um adding in a few other dollars here and there. But to answer your question, I I I have done it by the hour. I have done it by the job. Um, there have been a couple of people that have wanted to negotiate. Um, to be honest with you, I'm pretty well at this point confident in my numbers, what I bring to the table in terms of value for the customer. Um, it's kind of one of those things where it is what it is. And if they want to if they want to negotiate, one thing that I have done is say, look, I'll take off $50, whatever the case may be, if you'll be willing to spend 30 seconds on your phone and leave me a Google review. That's one of the only ways that I've ever really been willing to negotiate. Just because, like I said, I'm pretty well certain in what I have to make, what I'm worth. And that's one thing that gets really overused, and is, I hate it whenever people say that to an extent, is, I know my worth, because that can be subjective in a lot of people's eyes. But um whenever you've done the work, and you've got the reviews, and you've got the people that refer you out and trust you, and so on and so forth, it gives you a sense of confidence to say, hey, I know that, this job only took me 4 hours, and I charged you X number of dollars, and that equates to me making, XXX number per hour, and you only make XX number per hour. That makes you offended or whatever. And it's tough. It's tough, but at the end of the day, people see what we do, and they see our customer service and our communication and the way we execute things. And I think that kind of helps tie everything together and makes everybody feel comfortable, to when they see that big number, they're not so shell shocked. They're like, okay, this guy is going to take care of it. I don't have to even worry about it. It's something that I can put into his hands, and now it's no longer my problem.
Looking to the future, I'd be very curious to hear what do you think Fayette Property Solutions looks like in 5 years, and what does it look like in 10 years?
Right. So 5 years from now, I probably still picture myself being in the field in 5 years for sure. Um, I tell people this all of the time because I get asked constantly, when are you going to hire some help? And it's not something that I'm jumping out of my seat looking to do right now for sure. We still have some profit goals that we would need to meet first for me to feel comfortable to begin to add on additional people, not even from so much of uh, uh, payroll standpoint necessarily as much as I have worked for other companies where I've seen guys that do not care about the equipment or the customer or anything. They only care about the paycheck that they get at the end of the day. And so, me being over here working tirelessly to keep a solid reputation and keep all of our equipment in top-notch shape, and I just see there being so many potential headaches before I don't know the best way to put it besides saying that I don't think I'm ready to be able to put up money needed for mistakes happening from other people
Right.
that shouldn't be happening. Because if one of our machines, for example, did get rolled down a hill because of negligence or caught on fire or something, I mean, that's basically 40 grand right down the toilet. So we're kind of in a niche of our own that works well for just two guys. Whereas traditionally, like I said, it has been a 8 to 10 man endeavor for a lot of people doing what we do. But with that being said, 5 years from now, I still see myself being in the field. Potentially my father still being in the field as well. But between 5 and 10 after that point, um, I would like to think that at that point my father would be out of the field, because he still has other ventures that are more of a calling for him than this is. This is more or less my calling, I guess you could say, being outside and working with nature, so to speak. Um, so between that 5 and 10 year mark, I would probably honestly still see myself in the field to an extent, but I would definitely like to probably transition out of the field a little bit and start focusing primarily on sales. And hopefully, at that point, I would have a right hand man or two or three guys that I've trained up and shown them the ropes and felt comfortable with letting them kind of begin to take the business to where I could step away.
I have to say, Cale, just hearing you talk about it, of course, there are logistical concerns associated with handing the torch over to someone else. There are concerns, but it sounds like being in the field and operating the equipment and transforming the properties, basically doing what you do is a point of pride, and it's fun, and it's exactly where you want to be. So at least that's what it sounds like to me. Is that right?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's whenever I was a child, I probably would have preferred doing like construction type work, digging dirt or something like that. But I actually tried to pursue that, and it just never really panned out for me, due to quite a few reasons. But um, at the end of the day, I've just always wanted to own my own business, doing something outside. I not to hate on what you and Nick do, but I could never ever sit in front of a computer for more than an hour or two at a time. It just I've got to be outside. I've got to be touching something or just doing something. I don't usually portray myself as like a busybody that can't sit down and can't ever calm down. But definitely being active and in motion is definitely where I am at my peak, so to speak. So, yeah, it's kind of been a blessing, and it's got its curses that come in here and there as well. But yeah, this is definitely what I'm passionate about, and honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Awesome. At Titan Talks, we like to close with a rapid fire round. Are you ready?
Oh man, yep. I'll get ready.
What is it about your tandem, you and your dad, that allows you to achieve what usually is in reach only to a group of 8 or 10?
I would say 2 points. Teamwork, whether we have, just from our communication headsets alone that we both have, that makes our teamwork much better, and then that dovetails into efficiency. Those two things just kind of go hand in hand, and that's really what I think sets us apart in the field.
What's the biggest mistake you've made in 5 years?
Not quitting my day job that I had earlier, because I did still technically have a day job up until about a month ago, honestly.
Wow. Is that right?
Yep. Yep.
I know this is rapid fire, but I'd like to hear.
Yeah. So
Well,
I'll elaborate on
yeah,
that real quick.
Sometimes
So
it's a rapid fire that goes for
right,
that's
right.
okay.
So for the past 9.5 years, up until the end of July, I was the manager for a family-owned landscape supply business in our area, and that was a multi-million-dollar per year company that I was managing, and that was something that I it was a love-hate relationship there, because it was doing what I loved and helping people, and being around equipment and trucks and the landscape um, category, or whatever you'd like to say, but it was holding me back from growing my business like I would have never ever imagined, up
Hmm.
until uh, up until probably the beginning of this year, because they did give me the flexibility to leave a little early and make what I had to make happen. And I was also able to kind of not steal, but kind of get some customers from over there, because we didn't really do any installations or anything ourselves. We just had the materials, and people would constantly be asking, hey, do you know anybody that installs mulch or does grading or whatever? And I'd be like, yeah, I have a card of a guy. And it's funny, because I would generally never tell them that I was the guy. I
Oh,
would just say,
really?
I have a card of a guy, let me give it to you. And then they'd see me a couple days later whenever I'd come to give them a quote, and they'd be like, aren't you the guy from that landscape supply place? And I'd be like, yep, that's me. That's me. And then that that kind of helped even land me more jobs, because I'm working for another company that's reputable and that people trust, and then they see that I'm working there, so I must be reputable and they can trust me. And then whenever I do the work for them and they see, oh, he is reputable and trustworthy and does a great job, it just kind of kept growing everything. So yeah, that's my biggest regret, is not quitting that job sooner, because it's
Despite
basically it
despite all the customers that you got from it, it held you back a bit.
absolutely, a ton. And this the supplemental income from it and everything, that was great or whatever, but um it was by far the biggest holdback, by far and away, by far and away.
If you could offer one piece of advice to a pro just starting out, what would it be?
I would say to have the best customer service that you can, and if I could even maybe put a little comma, and communication. um because I hear so often that people will call a contractor and the contractor says, "Hey, I'll be out there at such and such date." Never comes, never calls. You call them back, they never answer. Um, I've heard as many as 10 contractors that somebody's reached out to with no callback, or if they did get an answer, nobody showed up. And so that's what I would say a lot of people would be able to really set themselves apart from the competition. If you just have good customer service, do what you say you're going to do, um, and then communicate with your customers, because that's really all that they want, is just somebody to clearly define what they will do and actually do it from there on, which I kind of consider customer service to an extent. So that's what I would say. Two little tidbits there.
Wonderful. And to close, what's been your proudest moment so far at the helm of Fayette Property Solutions?
Oh man. You know, I've always, to a flaw, kind of been a material kind of guy, whether it be the trucks or the equipment or the motorcycles or whatever the case may be. And I'm finally starting to kind of get away from that now. But I will say, last year, we bought our second machine. We bought another piece of equipment. It's basically just a wood chipper. And we bought a large, rather expensive trailer to be able to haul a lot of different combinations of things together. And in 2020, I made a big purchase on a truck. And so at the end of last year, just being able to see that truck and that really big, nice, expensive trailer with, two really cool pieces of equipment that we've labored on, and then like different combinations of equipment on that trailer, that's been probably the coolest thing for me, is just like, because you have pictures of jobs that you've completed and you can look back on those and feel a sense of pride or accomplishment from them. But you can't really go experience them or enjoy them past that. And like I said, it sounds kind of worldly or whatever you would want to say, but just being able to like look at the truck and trailer and what we've been able to accumulate, and just know that we've done that truly. Nobody gave us anything that we have out there. We truly earned that. And that's probably been one of the cooler feelings, is just that sense of accomplishment, that you can see and touch and go use. But besides that, just being able to look back on all of the pictures as well, that's pretty cool for me as well, because whether it be the landfill job that I told you about earlier, that there was so much uncertainty about, or whatever, there's a story to tell that not everybody knows about, that that I could show you a picture of a job we did and you could get your own story from it, but the story that I know of it is just different, as you could probably imagine. So I guess that's kind of special in its own sense as well.
Well, congratulations for all of your success so far, and certainly rooting for you here at Top Line Pro, and wishing you all the best to come.
Definitely. I appreciate that for sure.
Cale, thank you so much for being a part of Titan Talks.
Absolutely. It's been great. And I'm like I said, I'm honored to have been able to finally make it onto an episode.